This is the New York Sports Machine on WICR.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Cover 2. I'm your starting safety, Armand Matteo, joined by free safety Antonio Coppola. Antonio, NFL season's halfway done, and we're going to talk about Week 9 in the NFL. First game on the ticketer is the Miami Dolphins against the Buffalo Bills. Who you like in this one, Antonio?
I don't know. I mean, Buffalo's been up and down all season. Miami is Miami. I mean, they're coming off a long week. They played that Thursday night game in New England, or against New England, and they lost, so they got a little bit extra. So I'm gonna go with the Dolphins. I like what they've been doing under their new head coach. Buffalo seems like a mess. So yeah, I'm gonna take Miami in this one.
I'm gonna take Miami in this one too. Miami, before the loss to the Patriots, they looked like they were clicking on all cylinders. Dan Campbell has definitely changed the whole aura around that team. Both of these teams lost to the Jacksonville Jaguars, so like you said before, they've definitely been on their worst performances this year.
Right.
But I like Miami in this one. Buffalo recently has looked a little bit worse than Miami, so I'm going to go with Miami. Green Bay at Carolina. This is probably the matchup of the week.
Think about it. If the Panthers win this game, they go up 2 games in the NFC. So
I don't know. Green Bay's looked pretty bad the last 2 weeks. I mean, the Chargers should have beat them. Denver just looked like they just took Aaron Rodgers out of his element. He didn't even look like he was one of the best quarterbacks in the league that week.
Right.
I don't know. I like Carolina here, but I don't know, for some reason Green Bay I feel like is gonna win.
I'm gonna take Carolina just because I believe in Cam Newton. I believe in what he's doing. Like you said, the Packers have struggled the last couple of weeks, especially last week against Denver. Denver just, they took care of the Packers like it was no problem.
Oh yeah, I mean Peyton Manning's been horrible the whole year, and he had 340 yards. He looked like the old Peyton Manning against that defense. I feel like the read option's gonna kill Green Bay. It's gonna absolutely kill them. And Jonathan Stewart's been running the ball really well the last couple of weeks. So we both like Carolina here. St. Louis, Minnesota. This is gonna be a defensive matchup. I like Minnesota. I think that offensively they have a couple more X factors than St. Louis. St. Louis only really has Tavon Austin and Todd Gurley, but they have no quarterback to hit Austin or have. And Gurley's going to be stopped against that really undervalued Minnesota attacking defense. I like Minnesota here at home.
Yeah, I like Minnesota offensively too. I mean, obviously Adrian Peterson, Teddy Bridgewater's having an underrated year. Like he's flying under the radar. The Vikings as a whole flying under the radar. They're sitting at 5-2, 3-0 at home. The Rams are coming to town. They're going to go to 4-0 at home.
Stephon Diggs, that guy's been
a rookie. Yeah.
Wow, that rookie's been
he's been great.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Minnesota.
Washington and New England. This is a 14-point spread. Do you think New England's going to cover that spread?
Do I think New England's going to cover the spread? No. New England's. I don't think
it's in Foxborough.
They're not going to win every single game by 2, 3, 4 touchdowns. I don't see it happening. Washington's another team that they haven't played that badly. If you look at it, I know you look at the roster. It's Kirk Cousins and
the
rest
hard
of the gang. They play really hard. Deshaun Jackson might be coming back this week. I like Pierre Garçon.
Jordan Reed's one of the more undervalued tight ends in the league.
Right, and they can run the ball when they need to. So I'm going to take. I mean, obviously, I think New England's going to win, but
you're going to take the Redskins plus the points.
Yeah, if we're doing the spread, I think Washington will keep it close.
All right, Tennessee at New Orleans. I like New Orleans Saints here. New Orleans Saints look like one of the best teams in football recently over the last couple weeks. They went from being 1-4. I think they're on a 3-game win streak, if I'm not mistaken. Are they? Pretty sure
New Orleans, yeah.
Yeah, they're on a 3-game win streak. They're back at 500. I feel like New Orleans is going to be there. They might have a chance to get in the playoffs, and Drew Brees and the offense is just going to be on. They're just going to be kicking again this week. This is going to be a blowout, I think.
I mean, yeah, I think this is going to be the game that puts them over 500. They're sitting at 4-4 right now. Tennessee is riddled with injuries. I don't even know if Mariota's playing. Mettenberger looked awful. Obviously, the Saints, we know about the game last week against the Giants. Complete shootout, put up 52 points. I'm hoping for them, for their sake, that they're not coming off a hangover off that big game and they come out flat. But I do think they're gonna take care of business.
We both got the Saints here. I mean, we both have the same teams in every game.
Do we?
Yeah. Jacksonville at the Jets. My source over here, the big Jet fan that he is saying that Ryan Fitzpatrick is gonna play. If that be the case, this should be an easy win for the Jets.
Yeah, Nick Mangold's going to play as well, and that's huge because Chris Ivory could not run the ball
The
last
2
week.
weeks he's been struggling.
That offensive line last week looked awful. They couldn't protect anyone. Thank God we don't have to see Geno Smith again. I'm very thankful for that, and I think that this is going to be a Chris Ivory game.
Absolutely.
Especially with Decker and Brandon Marshall a little nicked up, so I'm going to take the Jets.
All right, Oakland at Pittsburgh. This is one of the shootout games of the week in my eyes. I think that Derek Carr is finally making himself a relevant quarterback in his second year with the Oakland Raiders. Ben Roethlisberger, after having a horrible game with 3 interceptions against the Bengals last week, he's going to look to show that he's the old Ben that he was before he was injured. And Antonio Brown's going to have a big game. I think Pittsburgh's going to edge him out, but it's going to be one of those nail-biter games like 31-28.
I'm gonna take Pittsburgh, just because I think that if they lose this game, their season is very much in jeopardy. They're sitting at 4-4 now, but the Raiders, they beat San Diego by a bunch of points, by 3 scores. They take care of the Jets last week. I don't see them going through their schedule like this.
Yeah, I don't think they're
week.
as good as their record indicates.
They're good, but they're
not a playoff team.
I think they are. I think they're a wild card team, honestly.
Bro, are you kidding me? They're like the Dolphins. There's teams in the past years who have started hot, like the Oakland Raiders. Look at the Dolphins from last year when they were 4-1 at one. No, 2 years ago they were 4-1 at one point. There are teams that have hot starts. Look at the Arizona Cardinals a couple years ago.
It's not just a hot start though. If you look at the roster, the way it's made up, the defense is very physical. I mean, last year
they have a lot of veterans.
They bodied the Jets last week, absolutely bodied them, and they were on the rise at the end of last season. Derek Carr has looked very good. He's got some great camaraderie with his wide receivers, Michael Crabtree, Amari Cooper, Latavius Murray runs the ball.
The only thing going their way of making the playoffs is that the AFC overall itself is very weak. There's not them. You have the Patriots and the Bengals who are undefeated. You have the Broncos who are undefeated. So, but if you look at everything else, besides the Jets and the Raiders and the Steelers at 500, everyone else is below 500.
Exactly. So they're making the playoffs.
I'm telling you, Pittsburgh's going to make that. I think it's Pittsburgh and the Jets.
I mean, that's the thing. The Raiders, that was
huge. All right, the winner of this game is going to be the 6th seed. How about that? Or 5th seed.
I mean, it's obviously early to tell, but the way I look at it is that the Raiders.
Every other team's 2-5 or 3-4.
The Raiders winning the game against the Jets last week, that puts the Jets in a lot of trouble because they have to finish a full game ahead of them because they lose the tiebreaker in the wild card race. So I think the Raiders are. I mean, it's early to tell. We'll break it down once we get closer to the end of the season. But I think the Raiders, if they keep it up, they can make the playoffs. I don't see them winning in Pittsburgh next week. Like I said, Mike Tomlin's a great coach, and that's another thing the Raiders have going for them. Jack Del Rio's a great coach. Head coaching experience in the playoffs. He coached the Jaguars back when they had Leftwich and David Garrard. And I just think that he's the right coach for that team, and he's got them playing real well.
All right, so the final, we can't hit all the games here because we're running out of time, but I'm going through the rest of the games here, and I think this is probably the best matchup.
Go to the Giants.
The Giants
real quick. Yeah.
at Tampa?
I think Tampa's. I think Jameis Winston's gonna take care of them.
I think so too. I think Doug Martin's gonna run for 120 yards or 2 touchdowns, and Jameis is gonna throw for 250.
Mike Evans had to say because after last week, the Giants' defense in New Orleans, that was a joke.
This is gonna be a shootout game. It's gonna be absolutely no defense.
Yeah.
Although Tampa Bay's defense is not that bad. And then the only other game I want to talk about here is Denver and Indianapolis. Do you feel that Andrew Luck is going to emerge back into the hero he was in the first couple seasons? Do you think he has enough to beat Peyton Manning?
I mean,
in Indianapolis.
Let's look at it. The Colts are what? The Colts are 3-5. The Broncos are undefeated. If the Broncos go in there and win, the Colts season is over. Chuck Pagano's gone. They're going to clean house.
I mean, it's not over because look at their division. They can still make the playoffs going 6-10.
No, I know.
That's how sad this division is.
Yeah.
Jacksonville, Tennessee, and Houston, they're all 2-5, I believe, or 1-6 or something crazy like that.
I mean, Peyton Manning, obviously going back to Indy, going to be emotional,
Yeah, but he looked really good last week. He was throwing the deep ball. Him and Demaryius were finally connecting. I mean, and then they acquire Vernon Davis. C.J. Anderson finally looked like the same player he was last year. This team's clicking on offense.
The Colts defense is nothing to
and Andrew Luck's been struggling offensively. Now he's going against arguably one of the best defenses in the NFL.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think they're just going to dismantle Andrew Luck.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's what I was saying. The Colts, I mean, they lose this game, their season's over. I don't see them putting up a fight. I mean, they've had some bad losses all year. They played the Patriots competitively, and that was about it. Obviously, last week too with Carolina, but I just don't see it happening. I see Denver going to 8-0.
All right, well, everybody, that's about it for this week. We must have been very boring this week since we had the same picks for every game. But besides that, this is the cover 2 defense. I am your starting safety, and that's my free safety. And we'll be back next week. Bye.
Oh, my God.